Have you ever felt like you are living very busy but not really moving forward? You wake up every morning, do what needs to be done, fulfill your responsibilities, then end the day exhausted. This week follows the next. This month follows the next. And then one day you ask yourself, where am I going? Living day by day is not failure, but it is a dangerous state. Because when you do not intentionally design your life will automatically be designed by circumstances, by other people, by urgent demands instead of important things. Like a boat drifting in the ocean. The wind blows one way, it goes that way. Big waves come, it sways. But a boat without a map cannot call itself on a journey. It is just drifting. I have met many hardworking people. They work nonstop. They sacrifice. They try. But they do not truly have a blueprint for their life. And because of that, they live in a reactive state instead of an intentional one. I used to be in that state. There were years when I worked very hard. But if someone had asked me, what are you designing for your future? I did not have a clear answer. I had activity, but I did not have direction. And I realized an important truth. You cannot build an extraordinary life with random decisions. Life does not automatically get better just because time passes. It only gets better when you get better. And you only get better when you live intentionally. In today's video, I will share with you the success principles that help you shift from living day by day to consciously designing your life. Not through temporary motivation, not through emotional bursts, but through discipline, clarity, and small decisions repeated every day. We will talk about personal responsibility, about your future blueprint, about daily systems, about your environment, and about how you can become the architect of your own life. And you should stay until the end of the video, because principle number 7 is the key that could change the entire trajectory of your life. Because the question is not, where will life take you? The question is, are you intentionally designing it or just letting it drift? Principle 1. Stop living in reactive mode. There is something more dangerous than failure. It is living in a state where you never truly question your direction. Most people are not living badly. They are just living on inertia. They wake up because the alarm rings. They go to work because bills must be paid. They come home because they are tired. They sleep because tomorrow starts again like today. And so the years pass. I want you to imagine a person driving on the highway at night. He turns on autopilot, does not check the map, does not adjust direction. The car keeps moving. The odometer keeps ticking. But if he does not define a destination, all movement is meaningless. Living day by day is the same. You can be very busy, but busy does not mean progress. You can work hard, but hard work does not mean you are headed in the right direction. And I once made that mistake. There was a period in my life when I thought that as long as I did more than others, I would go further than others. I took on extra work. I worked overtime. I chased opportunities. But one day I realized I was reacting to circumstances instead of intentionally creating them. I was not designing my day. The day was designing me. That was when I understood an important principle in the success principles. If you do not design a plan for your life, you will fall into someone else's plan, and they usually do not have anything big planned for you. What does living on autopilot mean? It means you let your mood decide your actions. You let circumstances decide your standards. You let urgency override what is important. You react to emails. You react to requests. You react to crises. But you do not intentionally build. And gradually, life becomes a chain of reactions instead of a chain of decisions. I met many young entrepreneurs before 2009. They were very dynamic. They seized opportunities. But when I asked, what is your 5-year plan? They were silent. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they had never sat down to design their future. Designing your life begins with a pause. You must stop to observe. You must stop to ask questions. You must stop to think. And here is the question I want you to ask yourself. Are you living by design or by default? Most people are afraid of silence. They are afraid of sitting alone and facing big questions. Because when you truly think, you will realize that some things in your life do not align with your deeper vision. But that awakening is not a threat. It is the beginning. I learned that every major change always begins with a very small awakening. One evening I sat alone and asked myself, if 5 years from now I am still living like this, will I be proud? The answer made me uncomfortable, but that discomfort woke me up. Living day by day means living without big questions. Designing your life means living with big questions every day. Do you know what is interesting? Life does not change suddenly. It changes through the small things you allow to repeat. If every day you allow procrastination to win a little, 5 years later you will see the consequences. If every day you allow mediocrity to exist, 10 years later you will see the results. But the opposite is also true. If every day you are a little more proactive, a little clearer, a little more disciplined, your life will gradually shift. Autopilot makes you live by old habits. Design makes you create new habits. And I want you to understand this clearly. You do not need to change your entire life overnight. You just need to stop letting today pass without intention. Start with simple things. Write down the 3 most important things for tomorrow. Schedule them before small tasks push their way in. Ask yourself every night, did I move closer today to the life I want to design? Success is not accidental. It is a series of right decisions repeated every day. And if you are listening to me right now, maybe this is the moment you shift from reacting to acting intentionally. Do not wait for a shock. Do not wait for failure. Do not wait for someone to remind you that time is passing. Remind yourself. You are not a tree. You can move. You can change. You can redesign. And this is only the beginning. The next principle will take us to the root of all change. What determines whether you truly take control of your life or continue to be led by circumstances? Principle 2, take 100% responsibility. There is a moment in every person's life when every excuse becomes meaningless. It is when you realize no one is coming to save you, not the government, not the economy, not your boss, not your family, and not your circumstances. I know that sounds harsh, but it is also incredibly liberating. Because the moment you understand that your life is your responsibility, you also understand that the power to change it is in your hands. There is a sentence I always repeat in lectures about success principles. You cannot change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust the sails. The wind will always blow. The market will always fluctuate. People will always disappoint you to some degree. But how you respond, that is a choice. I have met people with very difficult circumstances. They grew up in lack. They did not have early advantages. But what made them different was not that their circumstances changed first. It was that their attitude changed first. On the other hand, I have also met people with much better conditions. Yet they remained stuck because they were always looking for someone to blame. Blame has a strange attraction. It helps you avoid facing the truth. It makes you feel like a victim of circumstances. And when you are a victim, you do not need to change. But the problem is, a victim can never design their life. Designing your life begins with ownership. I remember a time when I was not satisfied with my income. I could say the market was unfavorable. I could say clients were difficult. I could say the times were not supportive. But one day I asked myself, if I truly had more value, would the market reject me? That question made me silent. The market does not pay for the time you put in, it pays for the value you bring. And if the value is not enough, whose responsibility is it? When I stopped blaming and started taking responsibility, everything around me changed. Not because the world became easier, but because I became stronger. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself. It means acknowledging your control. You are responsible for your skills, your habits, your growth, the environment you choose to stay in, the people you allow to influence you. There is something interesting I want you to reflect on. 2 people can go through the same circumstance. One becomes bitter, the other becomes stronger. Same circumstance, different response. So what creates the difference? Responsibility. The first person asks, why did this happen to me? The second person asks, what can I learn from this? And that question determines the trajectory of a life. If you want to design your life instead of just living day by day, you must stop saying, I can't because, and start saying, I will find a way. That shift is small, but it is the pivot point of the entire journey. I once ignored this principle and paid with several stagnant years. I waited for a better opportunity. I waited for better conditions. I waited for a more perfect time, but the perfect time never comes. The moment you decide to take responsibility, that is the perfect time. Do a reality check right now. Regarding your health, if you are not satisfied, are you truly disciplined? Regarding your finances, if your income is not where you want it, have you upgraded your value enough? Regarding relationships, what are you giving, or are you only expecting to receive? These questions are not comfortable, but they free you from illusions. You are not a tree. If you do not like where you are standing, you can move. But moving requires you to acknowledge where you are standing. The truth sometimes hurts the ego, but it nourishes growth. Designing your life is the act of a mature person, and maturity begins when you say, no matter what, I take responsibility. I am not saying that everything in your life is your fault, but I am saying that your response is always your responsibility. And that is where power begins. When you take 100% responsibility, you stop wasting energy on complaining. You begin using that energy to build. You stop asking, who did this to me? You start asking, what will I do next? And that question transforms you from a victim into an architect. Remember this, life will charge those who are too lazy to think with an empty future, but it will reward those who dare to take responsibility with opportunity and growth. If today you decide to take 100% responsibility for your direction, you have already moved far beyond where you were yesterday. And this is only the second step, because after you stop living on autopilot and after you take full responsibility, the next big question appears. Who do you truly want to become? And the next principle will take us to the heart of designing your life, designing who you are. Principle 3, design the person you want to become. There is a very common mistake when people begin talking about designing their life. They immediately think about money. They think about a bigger house. They think about a higher position. They think about fame, financial freedom, or the numbers in their bank account. But I have learned one thing after many years of sharing about success principles. The greatest value of achieving a goal is not what you get. It is who you become in order to achieve it. You can set a goal to earn an extra $100,000, but the more important question is, what kind of person must you become to deserve that $100,000? You can set a goal to build a business, but what skills must you develop? What discipline? What standards? Designing your life does not begin with what you want to have. It begins with who you want to become. I want you to imagine a skyscraper. Before people build the upper floors, they must dig deep into the ground to lay the foundation. The foundation is unseen, but it determines the entire height of the building. Who you are is the foundation. Your goals are the structure above. If the foundation is weak, the structure will collapse. I once met a very ambitious man. He wanted to become a successful entrepreneur. He had good ideas, he had enthusiasm, but he lacked one thing, consistency. He worked hard for a week, then lost motivation. He started strong, then quit halfway. He talked about a big vision, but his daily habits were average. And do you know what happened? His goals were not the problem. The problem was that he was not ready. You cannot sustain an achievement if you have not developed into the person capable of maintaining it. So before you ask, what do I want to achieve? Ask, who do I want to become in the next 5 years? A disciplined person, a person with integrity, a strategic thinker, a person who keeps promises to themselves, because your life will always reflect who you are. If you lack discipline, you will see chaos. If you lack clarity, you will see confusion. If you lack standards, you will accept average. I once focused too much on results. I wanted success faster. I wanted to go further. But I realized I was trying to change my circumstances before changing myself. And that is the wrong order. Life does not change when income changes. Life changes when you change. When you become more valuable, the market responds. When you become more reliable, opportunities appear. When you become more disciplined, results stabilize. You do not need to chase success. You need to become the person success cannot ignore. Try a simple exercise. Write down 3 qualities you want to possess in the next 5 years. Not 3 financial goals, not 3 career milestones, but 3 character traits. For example, high discipline, long-term thinking, keeping promises to yourself. Then ask, did I behave like that person today? Designing the person you want to become is the process of adjusting small behaviors every day. If you want to become someone who reads more, read 10 pages a day. If you want to become healthy, walk 20 minutes a day. If you want to become someone with strong thinking, spend time reflecting instead of just consuming information. Do not underestimate the power of small changes. A person does not become average in one day, and no one becomes extraordinary overnight. I learned that every major change always begins with a very small awakening. You do not design your life with rare, big decisions. You design it with small, repeated decisions. There is a question I want you to reflect on. If every action you take today repeats for the next 5 years, who will you become? That question may make you uncomfortable, but it is real. Because the future is not a mystery. It is the logical result of current habits. Designing the person you want to become requires raising your standards, not society's standards, not your friends' standards, but your own standards. When you raise your standards, you change your choices. When you change your choices, you change your results. When you change your results, you change your life. And I want you to remember this. Do not set goals just to prove something to others. Set goals to train yourself. Because in the end, who you become matters more than what you own. And if what I have shared today truly resonates with you, if you are on a journey of personal growth and want to continue learning success principles that help you design your life instead of just living day by day, press subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Because this journey is not about temporary motivation. It is about sustainable growth. And now, after you have stopped living on autopilot, after you have decided to take 100% responsibility, and after you have begun shaping the person you want to become, it is time to move to the next step: how to turn that vision into a concrete blueprint for your future. Principle 4, write the blueprint for your future. You cannot build a house without a blueprint. You may have bricks, you may have cement, you may have skilled workers, but without a blueprint, everything is just separate pieces. Life is the same. Many people have talent. Many people have opportunities. Many people have motivation, but they do not have a blueprint. And without a blueprint, they build randomly. They work hard today, then change direction tomorrow. They pursue one opportunity, then get distracted by another. They move forward one step, then step back two. I once asked an audience in a seminar, "How much time do you spend planning your vacation?" Many people laughed and said, "A lot." Then I asked, "How much time do you spend planning the next 5 years of your life?" The room went silent. We plan a 7-day trip more carefully than a 70-year life. That is why many people live day by day instead of designing their life. Writing the blueprint for your future begins with clarity, not daydreaming, not vague wishes, but specific clarity. I want you to think in 3 levels: 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, not so you control every detail, but so you define direction. 10 years from now, what do you want your life to look like? Where do you want to live? What do you want to do for work? What do you want to be known for? Do not rush to think this question is too far away. Because if you do not define the long-term destination, you will easily be pulled into short-term goals that are unrelated. Then narrow it down to 5 years. In the next 5 years, what progress do you want to achieve to move closer to your 10-year vision? And then, most importantly, 1 year. In the next year, who must you become? What must you learn? What habits must you change? Designing the future is not about accurate prediction. It is about commitment to direction. I once thought goals were just tools to achieve accomplishments, but after many years I realized goals do not exist for you to achieve them. Goals exist to change you. When you set a big goal, you are forced to grow. If you set a goal to double your income, you must learn to communicate better. You must upgrade your skills. You must manage your time more effectively. Goals pull you out of comfort. But if you do not write your goals down on paper, they will remain passing thoughts. Writing is an act of commitment. When you write, you tell yourself, "This matters." I always advise people to keep a notebook, not to record what has happened, but to record what will happen. There is a huge difference between someone who records the past and someone who writes the future. Designing your life requires you to become the second person. Try this. Write down the 5 most important goals for the next year. No more than 5. Not too many. Then ask, what does this goal require me to change about myself? If you want to be healthier, you must change your diet and exercise discipline. If you want to be wealthier, you must change how you use your time and money. If you want better relationships, you must change how you listen and behave. A blueprint is not just a list of wishes. It is a declaration of growth. And I also want you to remember one thing. A blueprint can be adjusted. You are not a tree. If after 2 years you realize the direction needs to change, you can revise the drawing. But revising is different from drifting. Revising is intentional. Drifting is directionless. I once met a very talented young man. He changed his goals every year. This year he wanted to start a business. The next year he wanted to go back to school. The year after that he wanted to switch careers. I asked him, "Do you have a long-term blueprint?" He said, "I want to be flexible." Flexible does not mean directionless. You can adjust the sails, but you still need to know where you want to dock. Designing your life is the combination of vision and discipline. Vision gives you a reason. Discipline gives you progress. And here's the question I want you to reflect on before we continue. If you do not write the blueprint for the next 5 years, who do you think will write it for you? Your job? Your circumstances? Or your current habits? The future does not form itself. It is built. And you can start building it today. But remember, a blueprint on paper is only the beginning. Because a drawing never turns into a building without a daily system of construction. And that is exactly what we will talk about in the next principle, where blueprint meets discipline, where vision meets action, where you begin turning the future into reality through daily habits. Principle 5, Build daily systems instead of waiting for motivation. No matter how perfect a blueprint is, it is still just paper. You can write down a 10-year goal. You can draw a 5-year vision. You can be very clear about the person you want to become. But if your daily life does not reflect that vision, then the blueprint is just an illusion. I learned a simple but powerful lesson on my journey of sharing success principles. You do not achieve what you want. You achieve what you repeat. A daily system is the bridge between dreams and reality. Many people wait for motivation. They say, when I feel inspired, I'll start. But motivation is a fickle guest. It comes and goes. If you depend on it, your life will be fickle too. Discipline is different. Discipline does not require emotion. Discipline does not require perfect circumstances. Discipline requires only one decision: do what needs to be done, even when you don't want to. I want you to picture a farmer. He cannot say, today I don't feel inspired to plant seeds. If he doesn't plant today, there will be no harvest next season. Life is the same. What are you planting each day? Are you planting knowledge? Are you planting discipline? Or are you planting procrastination? Daily systems start with identifying the big rocks. There's an image I love to use. Imagine you have a jar and some big rocks, small rocks, and sand. If you pour the sand in first, you won't have room for the big rocks. But if you put the big rocks in first, you can pour in the small rocks and sand afterward. What are the big rocks in your life? Health, family, learning, skill development, building assets. But what usually happens? We let sand fill up our day. Email, errands, unnecessary calls, meaningless conversations. And at the end of the day, we say, I'm too busy, I don't have time for what matters. The truth is, you always have time for what you prioritize. Designing your life is not about having more time. It is about using the time you have more consciously. I used to make the mistake of letting other people's schedules decide my day. I reacted to requests. I chased urgency. And I realized I was building someone else's goals, not mine. So I changed. I started scheduling the important things first. I set fixed time to read. I set time to think. I set time to learn and grow. Not when I was free, but because it mattered. Here's what you need to understand. You do not build an extraordinary life with rare, extraordinary actions. You build it with small disciplines repeated. Reading 10 pages a day is not impressive. Saving a small amount each week does not draw attention. Working out for 20 minutes each morning doesn't make anyone clap. But 5 years later, you will see a clear difference between someone with a system and someone who lives on inspiration. A system helps you progress even when you are tired. A system helps you progress even when no one recognizes you. A system helps you progress even when results have not shown up yet. I want you to ask yourself, does my day-to-day reflect the blueprint I wrote? If you say you want to be healthy, but you don't have a consistent workout schedule, that isn't design, that's a wish. If you say you want to be wealthy, but you don't have a saving or investing system, that isn't a plan, that's hope. Hope does not build the future. Systems do. And I also want you to remember this. Systems must be simple. Many people fail because they try to change too much at once. They want to work out for 2 hours a day. They want to read 3 books a week. They want to change their entire life in 30 days. Then they burn out. Designing your life is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Start small, but start consistently. If you want to build discipline, start with a commitment you can keep. Keeping promises to yourself is the first brick of a system. Every time you complete something you scheduled, you send yourself a message. I am reliable. And when you believe in yourself, you dare to set bigger goals. Success is not accidental. It is a chain of right decisions repeated every day. Daily systems are where those decisions get executed. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. And there's one more thing I want to say. Don't underestimate the power of 1% every day. If you improve 1% every day, in a year you will be completely different. Not because of one explosive moment, but because of accumulation. The accumulation of knowledge, the accumulation of skills, the accumulation of discipline. Designing your life is designing your system. Because in the end, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And if you have ever felt stuck, maybe the problem isn't that your goals are too small. Maybe your system is too weak. But systems don't exist in a vacuum. They are influenced by the environment you live in, the people you spend time with, and the standards around you. And the next principle will make you look at something very important. Is your environment lifting you up or pulling you down? Principle 6, invest in yourself nonstop. There is a mistake that many people make when it comes to money and success. They work very hard for their job, but do very little for themselves. I often say in sessions about success principles, work hard at your job and you will make a living. Work hard on yourself and you will make a fortune. Where is the difference? In whether you see yourself as your greatest asset. If you lose money, you can earn it back. If you lose an opportunity, you can create another opportunity. But if you don't upgrade yourself, you will repeat the same level of results. The market does not pay for the time you put in. The market pays for the value you bring. And where does that value come from? From skills, from knowledge, from mindset, from the ability to solve problems. I used to think working more was enough, but then I realized I was trading time for money and time is limited. If you want your income to rise, you must raise your value. So I began investing in myself intentionally. I read every day. I listened to people who were better than me. I asked more questions. I thought more. Not because anyone required me to, but because I understood that my future depended on the level of my own development. Formal education helps you make a living, but self-education helps you build wealth. And self-education is not going back to school. It is the habit of lifelong learning. I want you to ask yourself, how much time do you spend each day enriching your mind? 30 minutes of reading may not change today, but 30 minutes a day for 5 years will completely change how you think. One book may not make you rich immediately, but it can change how you see opportunities. And when mindset changes, actions change. When actions change, results change. I have met many people who want to increase their income, but when I ask what they are learning to upgrade their value, they go silent. You cannot expect the market to pay you more if you do not become more valuable. Designing your life is not only writing goals and building systems. It is a continuous commitment to upgrading yourself. Think of yourself as a company. If that company does not invest in research, does not train employees, does not improve its products, what will happen? It will fall behind. In the same way, if you stop learning and stop developing, you will find yourself stuck in place. I once said, don't pray for an easier life. Pray to become better. Because when you get better, life naturally gets easier. Problems that once worried you become smaller. Challenges that once scared you become opportunities. Investing in yourself is not just reading or learning skills. It is also training your mindset. Are you controlling your thoughts? Are you choosing what you read, what you listen to, what you expose yourself to every day? Your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant good seeds, weeds will grow. And weeds take no effort. Negativity doesn't need an invitation. Mediocrity doesn't need a plan, but excellence does. Investing in yourself also means being willing to pay the price. Maybe you have to sacrifice entertainment time. Maybe you have to say no to meaningless conversations. Maybe you have to accept the discomfort of learning something new. But remember this, the price of discipline is always cheaper than the price of regret. If you don't invest in yourself today, 5 years from now, you will face a version of yourself you're not satisfied with. I once neglected learning for a period of time. I thought I already knew enough, and the result was stagnation. But when I returned to reading, thinking, and intentional learning, I felt reborn, reset, restart, refocus. Designing your life is a continuous process like that. No one reaches perfection, but you can improve every day. Start with a simple commitment. Read at least 30 minutes a day. Learn one new skill each quarter. Spend time with people who can challenge your thinking. Don't wait until you have time. Time doesn't appear on its own. You have to create it. And here is what matters. When you invest in yourself, you don't just change yourself. You change your environment too. You begin attracting different opportunities. You begin attracting different people. And that is exactly where we will go in the next principle. Because even if you have a good system and you are investing in yourself, if the environment around you pulls you down, you will have to fight twice as hard. And the next principle may be the key to changing the trajectory of your life. Is the environment you choose to stay in lifting you up or holding you back? Principle 7. Filter your environment, the key to leveling up. You can have clear goals. You can have daily systems. You can be investing in yourself. But if the environment around you goes against your vision, you will have to swim upstream every day. And swimming upstream nonstop will exhaust you. I want you to understand a simple but powerful truth. Your environment is not neutral. It either lifts you up or it pulls you down. You cannot live in a mediocre environment and expect an extraordinary life. I have observed this many times. Someone decides to change. They start reading. They become more disciplined. They set higher goals. But then they go back to their old friend group, people with low standards, no ambition, and no seriousness about growth. What happens? Slowly, their standards get worn down. Not because they are weak, but because the environment is extremely powerful. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. They influence how you talk, how you think, how you use your time, how you view the future. If you stay around people who complain, you will start complaining. If you stay around people with high standards, you will start raising your standards. Your environment is like the temperature in a room. If the room is cold, you will shrink. If the room is warm, you will open up. So, if you want to design your life instead of living day by day, you must be brave enough to ask one question. Who am I around? What do they make you read? What do they make you think? What kind of person do they make you become? I once had to make a difficult decision in my life. There were relationships that were familiar and comfortable, but they didn't help me move forward. They weren't bad. They just weren't going in the same direction. And I realized, not everyone can go with you through every season of your life. When you change your standards, some relationships will change too. That doesn't mean you have to become arrogant. It means you have to protect your future, like a garden. If you want to grow flowers, you have to remove weeds. Weeds don't need an invitation, they grow on their own. Negative influence is the same. Meaningless conversations, limiting beliefs, people who always say, that can't be done. If you don't actively filter, they will take up space. And I'm not only talking about people, I'm also talking about your information environment. What are you reading every day? What are you listening to every day? What are you allowing into your mind? Your mind does not distinguish between what you choose and what you absorb by accident. It just takes it in. If you are constantly exposed to negativity, you will gradually believe the world is negative. If you are constantly exposed to a growth mindset, you will gradually believe you can go further. I want you to do a simple environment test. For the next 30 days, intentionally, spend less time with people who drain you. Spend more time with people who have high standards. Replace negative content with books, lectures, and materials that elevate your thinking. Watch what happens. You will feel different. You will think differently. You will act differently. And when you act differently, life will be different. I once said, don't pray for an easier life, pray to become better. But I also want to add this. Put yourself in an environment that forces you to become better. When you are around excellent people, you cannot maintain mediocrity. When you are in a high-standard environment, you are forced to level up. You may feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel like you're not good enough. But that is a sign you are growing. Too much comfort is often the enemy of designing your life. If you are always the best person in the room, you may be in the wrong room. Designing your life sometimes requires you to change rooms. And I know that isn't easy. Changing environments can mean leaving what is familiar. But if you aren't willing to change your environment, you have to be willing to accept old results. You cannot keep everything and still expect a completely new future. Remember, environment is stronger than willpower. Willpower helps you start. Environment helps you sustain. If you want to live intentionally, choose an intentional environment. If you want to become disciplined, stay close to disciplined people. If you want to succeed, stay close to people who take growth seriously. And that is the level up point. Because when you have vision, systems, invest in yourself, and place yourself in the right environment, you are no longer just living day by day. You begin living by design. But there is one important thing many people overlook. Don't only design the distant future, learn how to design your present too. And that is where the next principle will take us how to live fully today while still building tomorrow. Principle 8, design the present, not just the future. When it comes to designing your life, a lot of people only think about the future. They say, one day I'll be happy. When I reach that goal, I'll enjoy it. When I have enough money, then I'll start living. And they accidentally turn the present into a waiting room for the future. But think carefully about this. The future is not built in the future. It is built in the present. If your life today is chaotic, 5 years from now will simply be an expansion of that chaos. If your life today is intentional, the future will be the accumulation of that intention. I used to think happiness was a destination, but then I realized something profound. Happiness is not something you postpone. It is something you design for today. Designing the present does not mean living irresponsibly. It does not mean only enjoying yourself and forgetting responsibilities. It means you learn how to live with quality in each day instead of only waiting for outcomes. Ask yourself, does your day today reflect the values you pursue? Are you living by your standards? Or are you just existing to make it to the weekend? I have met people who worked for 40 years just to wait for retirement. They sacrificed their health, relationships, and personal growth, hoping that one day they would truly live. But life does not guarantee you one day. You only have today. Designing your life is not trading away your entire present for the future. It is the balance between progress and enjoyment. If you are always tense, always racing, always feeling lacking, maybe you are building success while losing your life. Designing the present begins with raising the quality of each day. Quality in how you wake up, quality in how you speak, quality in how you work, quality in how you spend time with the people you love. You don't need a big event to change how you feel. You need intentional attention. I once learned that. How you live today will become the habit of tomorrow. If you learn to appreciate small things, a quiet morning, a meaningful conversation, an hour of focused reading, you are designing a life with depth. On the other hand, if you always say, "I'll be happy when," you are putting conditions on your joy, and those conditions may never be met. Designing the present also means living by your standards right now. If you say you value health, eat like someone who values health. If you say you value family, spend time like someone who values family. If you say you value growth, learn like someone who is serious. Don't wait until you succeed to live your values. Live your values to succeed. Here's something interesting. When you raise the quality of your present, you don't just feel better, you also become more effective. A person who lives intentionally each day does not waste time on meaningless things. A person who values the present will not easily trade it for trivial things. Designing the present is also about emotional control. You may not control circumstances, but you can control your response. Every day has challenges. Every day has things that don't go your way. But if you learn to respond intentionally instead of impulsively, you are designing your character, and character determines destiny. I learned that every major change always begins with a small awakening, and that awakening happens in the present. Not when you reach the goal, not when you have more money, but when you decide to live differently today. Try this. Tomorrow, when you wake up, don't immediately grab your phone. Spend a few minutes thinking about what you're grateful for. Identify the 3 most important tasks of the day. Talk to your loved ones with real presence. That is design. Not loud, not flashy, but intentional. And when you live that way day after day, you will realize your life is gradually aligning with the vision you want. Designing the future while neglecting the present is one mistake. But living only for the present without a vision is another mistake. Maturity is when you can do both. Live fully today and still build tomorrow. And now, after you have learned how to stop living on autopilot, take responsibility, shape yourself, write the blueprint, build systems, invest in yourself, filter your environment, and raise the quality of the present, we are going to step into the final principle, the principle that keeps this entire journey from being interrupted. Because designing your life is not a single decision, it is a continuous process. Principle 9, reset, restart, refocus. There is a dangerous illusion many people carry when they talk about designing their life. They think that if they do it right once, everything will be fine forever. They think they only need to set goals once, only need to change once, only need to decide once. But life doesn't work that way. Designing your life is not an event, it is a process. And that process will always require you to reset, restart, refocus. I want you to understand this. You will have days when you lose motivation. You will have phases when you drift off course. You will have times when you feel like you're back at the starting point. That doesn't mean you failed. That means you're human. The issue is not whether you stumble. The issue is whether you know how to get back up the right way. What does reset mean? It means you pause to evaluate. You ask yourself, where am I? Am I living according to my blueprint? What is drifting off track? Reset is not self-blame, it is honesty. There were times in my life when I had to admit I had slipped below my own standards. I was overly busy. I neglected learning. I let urgent things override what mattered. But instead of saying, everything is ruined, I chose to reset. I reviewed my goals. I reviewed my habits. I reviewed my environment. And then I adjusted. Restart is the next step. Restart means you begin again, not from zero, but from experience. Many people are afraid to start again. They think having to start again proves they are weak. But the truth is, only people who are courageous enough are willing to start again. If you slipped out of your workout system, restart. If you missed your financial goal, restart. If you feel lost, restart. Life doesn't require you to be perfect. It requires you to persist. Refocus is the most important step. In a world full of distractions, refocusing is a rare skill. You can start right, you can have a good system, but if you let yourself get pulled into things unrelated to your vision, you will slowly drift off the path you chose. Refocus means returning to the core question. What am I building? Good opportunities appear, but not every good opportunity fits your blueprint. Invitations can be attractive, but not every invitation leads you where you want to go. Designing your life requires you to say no more than you say yes. I once had to turn down opportunities that seemed appealing simply because they did not fit my long-term direction. And I realized something. Discipline is not only doing the right thing, it is also refusing the wrong thing. Reset helps you look back. Restart helps you begin again. Refocus helps you stay on course. These 3 steps don't happen once. They happen continuously. Every year you need a reset. Every quarter you need to refocus. Every time you slip below your standards, you need a restart. Designing your life is a flexible journey with direction. You are not a tree. If you don't like where you are standing, you can move. If you're going the wrong way, you can adjust. If you stumble, you can get back up, but you have to choose to do it. There is a question I want you to ask yourself right now. If 5 years from now you look back at today, would you be proud of your decision? If the answer isn't clear, that is a sign you need a reset. Don't wait until everything collapses to change. Don't wait for a crisis to refocus. Maturity is the ability to self-correct before it's too late. And remember this, you and I both have a gift today. Today is an opportunity to reset. Today is an opportunity to restart. Today is an opportunity to refocus. Designing your life is not a perfect journey. It is an intentional one. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel clear. But if you keep returning to your blueprint, you will gradually build a life that matches your inner vision. And that is what I want you to carry with you after this video. Don't pray for an easier life. Become better. Don't wait for circumstances to change. Change your standards. Don't just live day by day. Design each day. Because everything great begins with a small decision, and maybe today is that day for you. We have gone through a long journey in this video. From stopping life on autopilot to taking 100% responsibility. From shaping the person you want to become to writing the blueprint for the future. Building daily systems. Investing in yourself, filtering your environment, designing the present, and finally learning how to reset, restart, refocus. But if I had to summarize everything in one sentence, I want you to remember this. You are the architect of your life, not circumstances, not other people, not luck. Maybe you didn't choose where you started, but you can choose how you continue. Maybe you can't control every disruption, but you can always control your response. Designing your life is not creating a perfect life. It is creating an intentional life, a life where you know where you're going, a life where each day has meaning, a life where you are not just existing, you are building. Remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So protect that system, raise that standard, keep your blueprint alive. And if today you realize you've been living day by day, don't be discouraged. Awareness is the first step of design. No one changes their entire life overnight, but one decision can change your direction forever. Maybe tonight you will sit down and write your goals. Maybe tomorrow morning you will start a small habit. Maybe this week you will adjust your environment. Those changes may seem small, but remember, everything great begins with a small decision. If this video resonated with you, hit like and subscribe so we can continue exploring success principles that help you live more intentionally every day. And I want to ask you one final question. Will you choose the hardship of discipline today or the hardship of regret tomorrow? Comment below which principle made you think the most. I want to know where you are on this journey. I truly appreciate that you stayed until the end of this video. You and I both have a gift today. Use it wisely. Success is not a destination, it is a journey you persist in every day. And maybe your life begins getting redesigned, starting right now.